My point is about Christian Zionists like John Hagee are always quoting things like Abraham's covenant with God, and basically trying to scare people, saying things like, he who curses you I will curse, he who blesses you I will bless, and they blindly assume that this formula applies to modern day Jews or Jewish Zionists, and that's the hidden assumption that the Jews, like the supposed physical descendants of Abraham through Isaac, are the object of this discussion. Now, as regards physical descendants of Abraham, there's God's promise to Ishmael. God promised to make Ishmael the father of many nations, and furthermore, Abraham had quite a number of wives and quite a number of children through those wives. So now these tribes ended up all around the north end of the Dead Sea, around the Gulf of Aqaba. Now, and it's not just the Arabs who say they're descended from Ishmael. The Ishmaelites now there's others descended from Abraham's children through Keturah and his other wives. So the child of promise was Isaac, but even that's not clear. So this blanket idea that the covenant, the blessings of the covenant with Abraham refer to Abraham's physical descendants, there's lots of those. There's 22 countries across the Middle East full of Arabs, to say the least. There's from Morocco all the way to Central Asia, there's descendants of Abraham from Ishmael, many of whom still speak Arabic. So this whole, already this idea that some modern day Jew saying that it's obvious, it's simple, it's obvious and straightforward to say that Abraham's blessing refers to like himself or his, him and his Jewish friends is already quite complicated and not so obvious. Now, be that as it may, I don't want to discuss the Quran at this point, but it's interesting to note that the Quran has a take on the Bible narrative whereas in Genesis Isaac is taken by Abraham to be sacrificed on Mount Moriah. But in the Quran, the child who's taken to be sacrificed on Mount Moriah is Ishmael. So the Quran basically tries to make out that Ishmael is a child of promise, and that the Arabs themselves are the chosen people. And they're not the first people to do that, but anyway, the this leaves us with the one of the most used, one of the most powerful, one of the most invoked concept underlying modern Zionism is the idea of the fulfillment of prophecy. Now, only having the Old Testament, the Jews very often point to there's lots and lots and lots of Old Testament prophetic texts talking about the return. Now, Jeremiah and Isaiah and earlier the former prophets all predicted the destruction of Jerusalem and the exile of the Jews for 70 years from Palestine, from Canaan to elsewhere. And you see there's an analogy drawn between the 400 years of slavery in Egypt, sojourn in Egypt, which was part of the covenant that God gave to Abraham, sojourn in Egypt, and the return from Egypt under the leadership of Moses. There's a you see in the Psalms often there's a prediction of an exile from the land and a return after 70 years and a rebuilding of Jerusalem. Psalm 51. For some reason, in the middle of talking about the penitential psalm, King David starts talking about, "O Lord, build up the walls of Jerusalem." Now, this Jerusalem was destroyed in approximately 70 AD by the Roman legions, which was the subject of prophecy, it turns out, by Jesus of Nazareth, who prophesied that the city would be destroyed and the Jews dispersed throughout the world. And the Olivet Discourse is of great interest to many people. But the problem with the Olivet Discourse, it talks about the end of Jerusalem, the end of Judea as a going concern, as a state. And about all Jesus said about it was the Gentiles will trample down the holy city till the time of the Gentiles is over. Now that's it. You'd have to go into the book of Revelation, epistles of Peter, the eschatological statements in Paul's letters, trying to piece together whether there is some kind of prophetic timetable for the second coming. But then the second coming of Christ is preceded by the New Jerusalem. But this is not a surprise, because there are eschatological passages in Isaiah, for example. Isaiah has some very important eschatological passages which talk about the end of the world. The end of the world, the new creation. But the end of the world it's completely apocalyptic. There's the end of the universe, the judgment of all men, the resurrection of the dead. And these things, and then then you see the work of the servant in the later passages of Isaiah, and there is a sense of restoration to the land under the servant. Now these types of things are also in Ezekiel, are also in the minor prophets. But what actually did in fact happen was, in the 6th century BC, the Jews did return in big numbers from Babylon to Canaan, Palestine. These people returned, and there was a rebuilding of Jerusalem, and it's recorded in the sequence of events. Is the repopulation of the land, the struggles with the new occupants, the coming of the Samaritans to the Galilee region, and the rebuilding of Jerusalem under Nehemiah. These are all recorded, but the return to the land, followed by the Second Temple period to about, again, 70 AD. This 500-year period, 600-year period is called the Second Temple period, but in many ways this return fits the bill for the prophesied return. Now, but Zionists, Jewish Zionists, who believe in another return from exile to Israel from wherever in our latter days, this belief in a physical, political reoccupation of the land, with all the irredentism and sort of thing that goes with it. The thing is, Christianity hopes in Jesus' fundamental teaching by far, beyond all question, is his teaching of the kingdom of heaven. The coming kingdom of heaven, which is an eschatological belief, apocalyptic belief. Jesus' kingdom of heaven, kerygma, involves all the things you see in Isaiah, the puzzling things, the end of the universe, stars falling from heaven, the resurrection of the dead, the judgment of all men, the the condemnation of the wicked, the reward of the righteous, and the new creation. The vision in Ezekiel is of the New Jerusalem, and that's seen again in the book of Revelation. The New Jerusalem coming out of heaven in its glory, but it's a celestial city. This is a heavenly hope and a heavenly desire, and it's not an earthly one. Christianity does not believe in a physical, political, earthly Zion. That is simply a heresy. Now, as I say, you get people like the infamous John Hagee, who predicted the latest 4 blood moons prediction that something big was going to happen because there was going to be 4 lunar eclipses in a row or something. But, nothing happened, and this is an indication of the depths of the silliness that Christian Zionists they sort of stoop to this depth of silliness to try to syncretize Jewish political beliefs with Christian beliefs. Anyway, the return.